Therapists are very, very, very helpful. I would say that, and your brotherhood, as far as men goes, yeah, your brotherhood and a therapist is quite helpful for you to navigate through those times. Your masculine brotherhood. Let me be clear.
Roll me, Mac.
Who sets the definition of manhood? I believe who sets the definition of manhood is really merely by perspective and as far as what you're into. Now, every man, I'm sure, looks at manhood from a different standpoint to where they believe that this is called being a man, this part of being a man. And when I do this, this is part of being a man. However, the way that people respond, I would say, to you operating in said behavior ultimately dictate what is deemed to be a man in their eyes and what's deemed to be a boy. So to me, it's a very tricky question, but I have to look at it from my own definition of it. So I would say I set the definition of what manhood is to me, and it's because it's more of a way that I live my life. So manhood, looking at manhood from a historical standpoint, things that were beneficial, things that were not beneficial for man himself. I look at the definition of manhood as someone that is stoic, that conquers his emotions more than anything else, and also knows how to express said emotions without being emotional, if that makes any sense, and knowing how to deal with chaos, if you will, like when you have to be in it, and also knowing when to avoid it is another part, I believe, of manhood. Another part of manhood is standing firm in your beliefs and believing how you wish to live your life, right? And some can do it. Some definitely feel the need to be a part of something, you know what I mean? Like to follow the crowd, if you will. But a lot of things that you believe may not necessarily be what others believe. And I believe that I have to sit firmly in my own belief system. Doesn't neglect yours or anything like that, but as far as what I'm doing for my life, I have to take charge on that one. I have to be responsible for the decisions that I make, because it's my life. If I live my life according to how another person wants me to live, I'm not living for me, I'm living for them. So essentially people pleasing, you know what I mean? And it's having the courage to do that, to live on your own terms, with give or take, without causing harm to anybody. physical harm, you know what I mean? Emotional harm, if you will. But at the same time, remembering that you're not responsible for how people feel about themselves, knowing that nothing anyone does is about them. It's literally about the person that's doing the act themselves, you know what I mean? But I mean, I think sometimes that can be considered advanced. So you're not, on average, it's not uncommon for us to make shit that someone else does about ourselves, you know what I mean, is what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not uncommon for someone to make something about themselves when an action happens. But manhood is about, I would say, like teaching your children how to manage their emotions. They learn how to respond in conflict from you. Teaching your woman, the same thing as far as emotions goes, teaching them how to manage their emotions, how to understand them so that they can be the best version of themselves. That's a role that how I see in manhood, to really just hone in your emotions. Not to get a woman to get outside of her essence, because essentially she's an emotional creature. Both sexes are emotional, but you get what I'm saying. It's more acceptable in society for a woman to be emotional and versus that of a man, because we are meant to hold firm, be steady, calm the storm, if you will, and truth be told, depending on how we were raised, will determine how calm we are within a storm as well. Because we very well might be two. It might be it could be two storms just meeting, versus one being one being calm, so that it brings down the other. And it's not easy. It's very much a challenge to try to conquer your own mind before you can even think about involving yourself with anybody else outside of your own mind. And that's what I look at the test of manhood and trying to navigate those things. When you find yourself getting triggered, how do you deal with that? Do you project your insecurities out? Do you lash out? Do you cause a ruckus? Do you scream? Do you throw tantrums? Or do you sit within those emotions? Do you sit within yourself and ask yourself, why? Where does this feeling come from? To me, that's a test of manhood, and that's where stoicism comes in and helps you be very calm in the midst of chaos, right? Knowing how to protect is another part, I believe, the definition of manhood. Knowing how to protect, knowing that you are, for those that are within your tribe, being responsible. You know what I mean? When it's your time, you know what I mean? You're not responsible for people's emotions by any means. But as far as like evading danger and not putting someone in a situation to where chaos can happen, that's what I believe where we come in with that, as far as like awareness. So I'm very grateful to the military for teaching us that sense of awareness. Obviously when you're out on a date, or when you're out with your family, or when you're with your friends and stuff like that, and you recognize where the exit is, and you sit where you see, the exit, where you see where people are coming in, so that you know what steps to take in the event something drastic may happen. It's not a very comfortable feeling by any means. It's uncomfortable, but in the event that something happens, that's a place where we would have to, take said action. Doesn't necessarily mean attack the attacker, but being able to get your people to safety is essentially what goes on in your mind when you are, when I would say, operating as far as from a sense of manhood. And it comes times where, you can be funny, but understanding that you want to be taken seriously, so you have to carry yourself like a man that commands that requires said respect for such. And I look at that as a part of manhood. So like I said, I believe that who sets the standard for manhood is really just the man himself. And of course, those that respond well to it will let you know as far as what they feel about manhood because like I said, there's different strokes, different folks type thing. A woman may prefer this type of man, and a woman may prefer this type of man. You know what I mean? And so there's no right or wrong to this. I believe there's effective and ineffective though. That's for sure. There are some methods of manhood that are effective. You know, there's some behaviors from males that are effective, and then there's some behaviors from us males that are ineffective as far as like how we carry ourselves in our daily life. And the one that pays attention to such and recognizes, okay, this is beneficial, this is this works well, and tries to be better, will turn out a hell of a lot better than the person who continuously does the same shit and getting the same results and looking for a different result though. You know what I mean? And thinking that they're working towards something greater, but they keep doing the same shit, getting the same result, expecting a different result. Insanity, in short. But who sets the tone? As far as manhood goes, I'll speak for myself. I set the tone for what manhood is, something I try to learn on a day-to-day basis, and we can just continue to learn. When you're not actually fine, how do you deal with it? I just deal with it. I suffer, in a sense. No, and not from, and not to say suffering like I'm purposely trying to loathe or or essentially be depressed and not want to do anything about it. What I mean by that is that I sit in what I'm feeling, and I analyze that, I process that to the best of my ability so that I know how to manage it the next time. And I found it to be helpful. Don't get me wrong, therapists are very, very, very helpful. I would say that, and your brotherhood. As far as men goes, yeah, your brotherhood and a therapist is quite helpful for you to navigate through those times. Your masculine brotherhood, let me be clear, you know what I'm saying? Now, so it's like having a group of men who look at things, who are also very much emotionally intelligent enough to navigate whatever you bring to them. That's another, it's a perk, it's a plus, it's a privilege to have, if indeed you can find such. Now, as far as like the lessons that are taught within therapy, and then like reading about understanding human behaviors, understanding psychology, understanding mental health to the best of your ability. Yeah, being able to read, meditating, like those things come in handy when it's time to really concentrate on what's happening within you and doing your best to not spaz the fuck out. Because I believe it's commonly for me, when I do that, it's for years and years of having to navigate this alone. From an earlier age, like being a kid and not really being taught how to manage your emotions. So you just you shut down, if you will. And shut down is almost like a sense of safety, but not necessarily the most helpful in the long scheme of things. It might be short term, but in the long scheme of things, it's not very healthy. I don't find it to be very helpful. But knowing how to process one's emotions while dealing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that you're not fine, and it's like, it's okay. I was just telling a friend of mine, as far as about like when someone asks me how I'm doing, I tell them I feel amazing. I manifest it. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't necessarily mean I'm okay by any stretch of the word. However, we become what we think about. So if I continue to say that, I'm not okay, I'm not going to be okay, Honestly, that's how I see it. There's, I believe there's levels, levels to it, but I've definitely learned over the years that manifestation is very, very real. The powers of the universe and God and His universe, of course, is being able to manifest what you want into your life. So most of the times when I was at my worst and I started stating that I was amazing, amazing things began to happen to me. I just accepted things as they were, not what I wanted them to be. Like I said, more Fati, if anything. Not, and the more I practiced, the more Fati, the less suffering I would have. It's just going through it, observe and not absorb. But that inner child is a bitch. The inner child is a bitch. The inner child loves to make you out to be a victim in your mind. And none of us are victims. We're not. And, you know what I'm saying? You're not able to control other people's actions as much as we think we do. Especially me, as somebody who definitely has like that controller within them, and that's just trying to control the trauma around you. But accepting the fact that you don't have, the only person you can control is yourself is it's a big relief, number one. And two, it takes like I said, it just allows you to take that pressure off yourself and getting rid of perfectionism and just thinking that like the world's gonna end, that feeling of like the world's gonna end. If I don't do this, the world's gonna end. And I've had that many times over my life, which has raised my blood pressure and anxiety together, trying to control everything around me. But that's not how, I've learned that that's not how my world works. It's recognizing what's in my control, what's not in my control, and releasing yourself from that. So when I know my inner child is at work when I'm trying to control every fucking thing. So like when I'm not okay, I just deal. You know what I'm saying? I just accept that it's temporary. Everything's temporary. Not much for absolute terms, but one thing I can say is that everything is temporary. The feeling you have right now, feeling down, will subside eventually. It's not the first time you've been down, it won't be the last. And it's just allowing yourself to go through it, right? Truly just go through the motions, allowing yourself to feel it. I think that's where we struggle the most, is that we have taught ourselves from a young age to not feel, when simply feeling is the way through. It's accepting it. It's okay, cool. I feel anger. I'm not anger, but I feel anger. I feel sad, but I'm not sad. I feel happy, but I don't say I'm not happy. As weird as that sounds to say, but what you're doing is allowing yourself to separate yourself from your emotions and recognizing that you're not your emotions, you're not your failures, you're not your mistakes, you're not your accomplishments, you're the light that shines through, as Jim Carrey describes it, you know what I'm saying, in his motivational speech. Like, you're the light that shines through. Everything else is just the ego, implying that you're not enough and you have to be this in order to be something. And not to be anything, really. Our egos get the best of us in many ways. Like, we have to be this. But it's okay to not be okay. As the saying goes. As some of my friends try to tell me. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I manifest feeling amazing. You know what I mean? And it's a mind trick. It really does trick the brain into believing that I'm amazing. I am is I think it's like it's an affirmation. Whatever you say after I am is what your brain would really like become. So, but at the same time, understanding that you're not your thoughts. It's hard to explain, but these are the tricks of the brain. But if you're going to trick your brain into anything, you may want to trick it into something positive versus something negative. That's just my theory, my thought for myself that I have. If I'm going to trick my brain, I'm going to trick it into something positive and something that's beneficial for me. Then trick it that I'm nothing. I'm no, you know what I'm saying, from a negative standpoint, that I am nothing. I'm the worst person ever, and like shit that I wouldn't even say to my friends, and as we tend to do when we get inside our head. But we don't have to stay inside our head. We just process what's there and let it go through. So when I'm not okay, when you're not fine, I just go through it. You know, I let it process. But you don't stay there. Don't allow yourself to stay down, because no one's coming to save you. You have to believe in yourself. It's your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter how much we as your friends, your family believe in you. If you don't believe you can do it, it's not going to happen. So it's having that courage to say, fuck it, I've made mistakes. I'm gonna live long enough to make more mistakes and just do it. Just decide that I'm going to do it no matter what. And who gives a fuck about making mistakes, man? Like, mistakes imply that you're trying. So it's not to look at them as a negative thing, as some of us might have been taught, especially if you were raised by like perfectionists or raised around perfectionists, you know. But make mistakes, make them often, learn from them. Try not to do the same mistakes over, but make mistakes. And it's okay to not be okay. But I feel amazing. What's your most hated chore and why? The most hated chore for me is more than likely putting dishes in the dishwasher, which is the dishwasher's already making you lazy as fuck anyway. But it's just the thought and the time it takes to do it. I actually get a joy out of like folding clothes and washing clothes, because I'm commonly watching something while that's happening. So it's just, and then I just do what I was taught in basic training. So it's like I'm using those methods that enable me to kind of get through this with no problem. I'm making my bed, sweeping floors, mopping, that's all. Yeah, I joy in that. But as far as the one chore that I really loathe is is just putting the dishes in the damn dishwasher. Because having to navigate and play Tetris inside the dishwasher, essentially it's not something I generally want to do, but I just happen to do it. But if there was any chore that, like I said, that I hated, if I had to choose one, hate is a strong word, but the chore that I like the least is definitely putting dishes in the dishwasher. What are your thoughts on turning 40 later this year? Wow. How did we get here so fucking fast? is really what goes through my mind. I look at a lot of accomplishments, a lot of mistakes, a lot of events, opportunities, taken advantage of, and some I didn't, and how we got here. And just seeing, so, you know, honestly, it's just going on, continuing life, right? If I'm fortunate enough, you know, God in His universe allows me to see 40 later in September, right? Just take it one day at a time to continuously live for being better than I was the day before. And that's how I look at every day. I just been doing it for so long to look up and like, wow, you know, it's gonna be 40 this year. So I've enjoyed the ride. That's for sure. I've definitely enjoyed the ride getting to 40. It's been, it's an accomplishment. One making it to 40. Landmark years, if you will, like 16, 13, 21, 25, 30, and now 40. And now, of course, 50 and whatever else comes up that you're able to get to. But being grateful for every day, regardless if I'm 40 or 45, is I would say like the goal. Truly, the goal is just to be grateful for every day and live every day as if I was going to live forever, or live every day as if this is my last day. So certain things that you find to be draining, you look at yourself and be like, is it worth it? Is it worth my energy? Is this a fuck that I should give? And most of the time it's not. It's just, and we only get but so many fucks a day to give. But I do my best to conquer my own mind, because it's usually from the past. It's the past versions of me trying to settle present day versions of myself. You know what I'm saying? And there's no use for that no more. It's not. And you don't have to prove it. You don't have to prove anything anymore. You never did. You never had to prove anything. You know what I'm saying? Again, that all falls back into people pleasing. Because who are you to believe that you're more important than I am, to make your issues my issues? And sometimes when we're so used to being in that system, you fall back into it. You do. You really do fall back into thinking that you're responsible for other people's problems. Now, granted, as a man, now you're responsible for safety and protection of people. However, as far as like being responsible for their own issues when they try to make their problems your problems, that's where we have to draw a line. That's where healthy boundaries comes in. But 40, yeah, it's coming. Yeah, 40's coming. And you know what I mean, I've learned a lot. I'm gonna say I've definitely learned a lot about myself making it up to 40. Lots of years sitting in trauma, lots of years blaming others for my shit, coincidentally projecting my shit onto other people. And once I learned to kind of deal with my own shit and be responsible for my own life, life started to be, once you start to be more accountable, life was a lot more brighter for me. So like getting to 40, it's been great. You know what I'm saying? I met a lot of people along the way. Each of them have taught me a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? A lesson of some sort. Some have taught me short-term lessons because they had to leave. They had to leave life. And then long-term, there's ones that have been, that's still around from long time ago, man. I'm talking about people you've known since you were 9 years old, 10 years old, that are not in your family. You know what I mean? And grateful to see them grow, grateful to see them have their families and all that stuff. And it's a joy. It's a joy to watch. And then recognizing your own situations, like as far as family goes, and battles of the past that didn't need to be fought anymore, but stayed stuck in your mind from a sense of trauma. Again, man, like if you let trauma win, you'll never get over stuff that doesn't even matter anymore, if you will. But it's a challenge, you know what I'm saying? It's essentially just a challenge, you know what I'm saying? And most people don't even some people don't even pay attention to this shit and don't realize that, when it's happening. But once they get triggered, they're responding in a way because they haven't dealt with the situation yet. And I do my best to try to sort out that shit, before it even happens, so I can recognize it. So when I see that I'm responding in a way that's like from my past, I can get control of my emotions and move forward in a more mature way. Or something that doesn't even dictate having a response. And that's another thing, is realizing that you don't owe anybody anything. And that some things do not require a response from you. That's a strength that comes when you could give a fuck less about whether or not this person has if you're making this person happy or not, because you're not responsible for their happiness, 40, like I said, 40 years of living, plenty of moments of that, plenty of moments of like recognizing your impact in other people's lives and their impact in yours. 40, getting to 40, many tears, right? Yeah, definitely many tears, definitely heartbreak, definitely moments of joy, moments of laughter, moments of confusion. That's for damn certain. Moments of not knowing how you're going to make it through this, but somehow still here to tell the story. And that's just part of I think that's just part of living. You know what I'm saying? It's accepting things as they are. Some things don't have an explanation. They just happen. I would say, especially getting into these years, I've enjoyed protecting my peace. Right? I've enjoyed recognizing certain energies that are not meant to be around you long term, and recognizing the energy in which you give off too, and when it requires adjustment. And I think that comes with growth. I think that's about maturity and navigating through those mindsets when they come up, as much as possible, that is, and being able to sharpen yourself every day. Like, work on learning something new every fucking day. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about what another person's doing. Just because, I'm trying to learn every day doesn't mean somebody else wants to, and I'm not greater or better than them because they don't, It's not about that, It's really just about yourself. You know what I mean? Just really becoming the best version of yourself so that minor shit doesn't get to you throughout life, so that you can essentially mind the fucks you give. Be calm in the presence of chaos. A lot of times, what I've learned getting to 40 is that a lot of people want to gain a reaction out of you, right? And depending on what that situation is, will determine whether or not it requires a reaction from you. And I would say the wiser I get, the older I get, I become more of a monk and calm, just calm about things. And ensuring that I don't allow myself to get but so emotional about this issue that does not require such. If it's out of my control, that is. You know what I'm saying? Like, to get emotional about something out of your control is wasted energy. You can put that energy towards something that actually is within your control. Something that you can, essentially control within yourself. And it's, you control your response to things. You control what gets to you. People need your permission to offend you. And as long as you keep that in mind, I think you'll be okay. But 40, there's so many moments. There's so many more moments within the last 39 years from where I thought that me throwing a tantrum was going to get what I wanted. And it did as a child. And it did for the traumatized girl that I was with at the time, who was people pleasing because I was doing something that reminded her of her childhood, which I believe that's what was going on. But it's a process. But once you get older, once you become more mature, you do your best to not make your problems their problems. You be mindful, right? You can listen, but not take on their shit. That's number one. You don't do anything you don't want to do. You're willing to walk alone. You're willing to be alone. And if it means having healthy boundaries, if being alone means having healthy boundaries for self, then I I've made a decision some time ago that I will do that. I have no problem with that. But recognizing people like wanting you to join the crowd and be with the in crowd and shit. Nah, it's okay. It's all right to just do everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because the majority want to do it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it. And having the courage to be like, I'm good. I'm not going to do that. It takes practice. It takes practice with such. But I've learned that in, let's say now, close to 40 years. From trying to fit in so much. Really, really wanting to fit in. And then realizing that me fitting in didn't do me any good. And I was being used. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, to get what I was, being manipulated for someone to get what they want. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, cool, I got it. But it's on me. I still did it by choice. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's great to practice unconditional love. Because the more you, you know what I'm saying? Like, the more you do shit that you don't want to do, you become a people pleaser. And then you start to get resentful because you don't get what you want in return, So it's like teaching yourself to just do only the things that you wish to do and be okay with that. And have the courage to say no too. That's a superpower. Like, being able to say no to something. You might lose some people, mostly the manipulators, when you say no. That's okay. That's not who you want in your life anyway. Everybody's not meant to be in your life ever. Energy. Like I say, energy won't ever lie to you. So, you do what's best for you. And sometimes when you do what's best for you, it pisses off many people. That's what I love about turning 40. The older you get, the less fucks you give about, people pleasing and having people's approval. But I think we said enough, at least on this topic. So I'm out. Good night, kids. How do you plan to spend your retirement? I plan to spend my retirement on a beach with coconut drinks, books, music, family, if you will. Whether that's family of my own or if it's friends that became family, like just having that peace, that joy, and not having to worry about anything, to know that bills are covered. Because I think a lot of our issues within ourselves is like worrying about, being concerned about, is this financially covered? To be to a place where finances are not an issue and that you can just actually enjoy life, wake up and do the same thing every day if you want to. That's something I look forward to, and why I work at what I'm working towards every day, outside of my own, day job, that is. But retirement is going to be filled with a lot of, like I said, a lot of different music debates when certain songs come on. A lot of, like I said, a lot of reading books, a lot of just swimming in the ocean, a lot of just sitting around, being grateful for life, man, and being with those that I value, essentially my tribe, and just ensuring that they have whatever it is that they need and some of the things that they want. Because I'll make sure you got your needs, but as far as your wants goes, man, fuck out of here. Well, all those wants, because we're never satisfied, right? But retirement, definitely before 60, is what I would like. That's why I'm working, like I said, continuously working at what I'm working towards. And the plan, again, keeping that plan that I have in my mind alive, and recognizing the distractions that essentially can prevent you from obtaining such. But retirement, I look forward to it. I look forward to a life that is just filled with, it doesn't matter what time I wake up, you know, being able to just sit and just enjoy the fruits of my labors for all those years, everything work put into things, you know what I'm saying? And the interesting part is that you can always have dreams, you have ideas of things you want to work towards. When your time is up, your time is up, right? I look at, like, last year, buddy of mine, tribe member, no longer with us, you know, lost his life last year, and he had so many visions, so many dreams and things that he wanted to do for himself and definitely for others, because he was very much a people pleaser. And it's like, what did all those dreams, you know, what did all the, you know, not the retirement aspect of it, but like all those dreams, what did it really mean? You know, I mean, it doesn't mean I'm not saying to not still work towards like dreams or retirement, but it can be gone. It can be gone. And being grateful for every day. I say all that to say that I keep that in mind when I'm working towards this shit. Just being grateful for the day itself. Being grateful for the people around me for however long they're gonna be around me. Because I don't intend, like I'm old enough to recognize that not everybody that's around you is gonna be around you forever. Everything, like I said, everything is temporary. So it's even more reason to appreciate them in the moments that you have with them. You never know what may happen. They go, you know, different paths in life, death, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Just being grateful for those moments and making the most of the time spent. But retirement, I definitely intend to, like I said, to be on some island. You know what I mean? Many islands for that matter, but being able to travel to various islands and just enjoying life, taking in peace, smiling, you know what I'm saying, impacting lives, doing for others too, you know, a sense of like what I'm learning from what Andrew Carnegie's talking about. He talked about in the Gospel of Wealth, and like he spent years gaining wealth so that he can give majority of it back, you know, towards the end of his life. So I mean, if I can help it, if I'm privileged enough to be in that position based on how I'm trying to work towards in my life, yes, I would. Yeah, that's something I would love to do. I'd love to be able to give back to the world in some way. Essentially, just like what I would say I'm trying to do with this platform is trying to give back and putting a sense of mental health and psychology in a means of like where people where I come from can digest it a little bit better, you know what I'm saying, versus what the technical term may be. But yeah, as far as retirement goes, that's what I intend to do. Being on the beach with my tribe, reading books, listening to music, and just enjoying life.